Doing a really quick recap today because I'm late for my pole dancing class. First stock on the day was SPCE. This one actually got started already pre-market, just nibbling on the weakness, right? Nibbling means scaling in small size, especially when it's pre-market, and adding to full size when the trade confirms at the open. So this stock was just gapping down per the market weakness. But it gapped down overnight, over the weekend really. So this stock was just doing the same thing. I was just loaning the weakness because we had gapped down to daily support level. Nothing genius here, nothing crazy. It's just a very simple bounce play. And I was able to get some really nice ads from scaling in pre-market and adding back to full size, 29.80s, and giving me a nice $30 average at the open full size, and then just bouncing this and selling into the rip. And I did not see this coming near the end of the day, the squeeze here. But I don't usually like to trade later in the day unless it's a stock I'm very convinced about. So that's the first play on the day. The other play, it's a loss on the day, loss on small size. Remember, it's okay to lose, but just lose on small size or like cut your loser small. And that's exactly what I did. I was playing the momentum scale on the volume squeeze on TOCA. We didn't get a continuation on that squeeze. Right after it got squeezed out, I guess all the shorts got squeezed out and no buyers came in to buy. So, I lost about 20 cents per share on just starter size. So remember, you want to lose small. It's okay to lose, but just cut your losers small and keep your winners big. So that's a loser on the day. The other stock, GNPX, is a small win. GNPX, this one is really the same idea as TOCA, just playing the volume squeeze. This one has been one that gets bought up on weakness. Every time it opens weak, it gets bought up and they squeeze it near the end of the day or midday. So I was just scalping it on the momentum trade right here, loaning the dips after I believe we got halted, and I loaned the dip after the unhold at 610s and selling into 650s. I was looking for a little bit more, maybe perhaps $7, but we never got there and I got stopped out. And this is the kind of extended sell-off that you want to avoid, and that's why you always need to set your stops. It's okay to set it too tight, which I did on the last piece here, but I want to make sure I don't get caught and trapped in this kind of heavy dump here. Nasty action on these kind of small caps. The biggest trade on the day was perhaps NNVC. I was short NNVC. Why? Because just look at the daily charts, lots of bag holders all the way on the 11s, 12s, 13s, 15s. What do you think those people holding the stock, holding the losing position, downtrending on the daily, what do you think they're going to do at the open when a stock finally gaps back up to 10 to 2 digits again? Crazy day today with the market tanking. Traded two tickers, NEO and COCP. NEO was a loss, so let's talk about that one first. So this stock, NEO, was actually gapping up on extremely good news. And in the past, when it gapped up, it has a tendency to keep on going. As you can see on this day, they raised funding for $1.42 billion as part of their move. So that's why I was bullish on this. And I identified 480s as the key level on the daily chart, and that's the level I was risking off. So I was risking off this 480s level and, had a nice entry starter size, and I was adding to bigger size, and then we just kind of tanked. That's why I stopped out. So stopped out for about 10 cents loss, but I traded according to my plan, and part of the plan is stopping out. It's okay to be wrong in trading, but just when you're wrong, make sure you have a stop loss set so you don't lose all the way down there. So in hindsight, I should have just flipped short because it was extremely heavy after that. This VWAP reject would have been the perfect entry to go back short, but I was watching another stock at the time, which was COCP. So this one, I was short and then tried to long it to get in, and I gave back some on the long side. But the short ended up working out really well, but I just never covered all the way to the end. I left it alone at the open because this stock has been, quite a tricky one, just to say the least. It kind of trades a little bit like GNPX, and that one was really good at trapping both the longs and the shorts. That's why when you short, you want to, identify the levels that had a lot of hidden sellers. And for this stock, COCP, it was around 240s to 250s level. You can see we worked right here, second time again and again right here, and that's where I started in short. And adding on the pops for the short and then covering on the extended sell-offs. And then this is where I tried to re-short it here. But, this kind of volume, to me, that was a reversal coming. And that's why, I stopped out on the short side, took a small loss on the short, gave back some initial profit, and then flipped long. And flipping long, the anticipation was that we're going to get more volume building around this hold of the 230s area, and that's the area I was looking to add if we can hold. And we didn't hold that, and that's why I stopped out on the starter size on the long side for the stock. And of course, hindsight is 2020. I should have went back in and reshorted it because that confirms the heavy selling from the top here. So missed a lot of downside. Could have, would have, should have. At the end of the day, I traded according to my plan and stopped out for the long trade and the starter size on the short back here. So I was overall really happy with this trade. So we had tons of coronavirus stocks gapping up today, and perhaps the one leading the entire sector right now is MRNA. The other ones, such as NNVC, just wasn't as strong. MRNA was the one that was gapping up. Actually, they trapped a lot of shorts yesterday on this daily candle here, and then the gap up, I'm sure, squeezed a lot of people out. But this stock was actually quite tricky to trade because every time it tries to push, there's a lot of sellers around $29 and later on around 28 as well. That's why it keeps on stuffing around the VWAP area. Every time it tries to break out, it rejects. And I actually scaled in short at first right here, and you can see I covered because the action just wasn't quite right. It was actually a really tricky stock to trade, either long or short. So I was short here. You can see I covered for like pennies, basically break even. So after the stock keeps on rejecting VWAP, but then it keeps on getting saved and creating these higher lows, and there was a lot of buyers hitting around 27, low 27 area, buying every single wick up, as you can see right here on this 5-minute candle, and that's why I flipped long. I longed here, and I sold into $29 because there was a wall of sellers. You can see this $29 mark was holding up for the entire day. Every time it tries to, this was me cutting out the rest of my long position. Every time we reclaim the lows for forming a higher low and not breaking down any further, we reclaim VWAP and keeps on getting rejected around this $29 area. And it's the same thing around this area too. So this one was extremely hard to trade, either long or short. There wasn't really that clean of a direction until, of course, after hours when we reclaimed $29 and going higher. But overall for me, this was a tricky stock. I definitely didn't, make that much on it, as you can see, either short or long. But overall, I was really conservative with this one just because the direction wasn't that clear and came out with just a tiny win on this. The bigger winner on the day was actually SLS. So this one is not a coronavirus stock. They had some pump PR pre-market. It's a non-dilution chart, as you can see on the daily. They have tons of reverse splits in last year and also in 2018, I believe. But for this stock, this one was a lot simpler to trade. Yes, it's a reverse split. That's low float, like I've talked about in one of my reverse split strategy videos. But the key is that, this, if you see the SEC filings on the stock, you know why they're pumping the stock up. And there's no problem loaning the stock. But for me, it's the better risk reward was to the downside after we spiked all the way towards 370s level. 370s level right here, you can see daily resistance. Hard rejection right here. And after the stock rejects, that's where I started going in short, bigger. This is just a pre-market scalp. Market hasn't opened yet. After I waited for the top to show, and that would be my risk, right? I was waiting for more of a bounce towards 350s area. There's another, you can see there's another daily level around here, but we never bounced that high. So I was shorting, covering into the washes and, missed a lot of downside. But I didn't want to get chopped up in the midday grind because we've seen a lot of low volume pumps during the middle of the day, and they were really good at trapping both longs and shorts. So I just want to be careful and avoid trading midday altogether. The other one was a simpler trade on the day, SDC. SDC actually longed this. This was a stock that we were playing all the way here. They gapped down overnight due to very terrible earnings. It's more of a very simple technical bounce trade. I was looking for more of a bounce towards $9, but the volume on the bounce from this $8 mark all the way to $8.50 just wasn't that strong, and SPY was really weak all day, so that's why I didn't want to outstay my welcome. So one entry in, one entry out would have been ideal to add even bigger on the bounce, which we did a couple of days ago on SPCE, but we just didn't get that kind of volume and that kind of volatility today on this stock. It was weak all day, so it's going lower probably tomorrow. So today is the day that I gave up the entire week's profit. Took a huge loss in CODX, so it's a hard day, but I'll be fine. So tomorrow I'm probably not going to trade. It was pretty bad at one point, but I had some other smaller wins that kind of recovered some of the losses. But let's dive right into it. CODX. So this is one that ripped a lot of people off to faces yesterday, and I assume today as well. I actually didn't trade it yesterday. I did went in short today, as you can see, but the big loss was right here, where I covered my entire short right here. So that's where I took the loss, and I don't regret it. Of course, you can see now, oh, if I had held, I would be up a lot down here, but you don't know with things like this. All I can do is to stop out according to my plan, and I did. But the problem was this ad right here. This ad was a little bit too soon and a little bit too aggressive, but I'm happy about stopping out. The initial entry was fine, but it's the ad that kind of got me into trouble. So this entire cover cost me my entire week's profit and a little bit more, and I had to go back and make it back. As you can see, I went back short, cover shorting into this, and then covering into the wash. And this is where I actually flipped long here, because there's a support around $11, and also I was longing here, and then I think I was short here. So I made back some on the backside on CODX for both the long side and short side. But overall, this trade, this stock ticker was overall a huge mess for me. So red on the day on this ticker. The other ones that I made money on overall, but a lot smaller, as you can see, is NNVC. It's also another coronavirus play. This one I was shorting because CODX at the time was halted on the downside, and I went in short. And I didn't know it could tank all the way from 11 to $8. Of course I didn't know that, right? For me, this was holding a pre-market support, and that's why I covered here. I scalped a little bit on the backside here, but I didn't want to outstay my welcome. And the last thing I want to do after a huge loss is to revenge trade, to try to make back my money. Yes, it sucks that I'm red on the day, but I'm still very happy about my discipline. I didn't try to go back in and try to make back my losses or revenge trading. The other stock that was also pretty good for me was Lake, LAKE, another one of these coronavirus stocks. This stock I was just shorting, same as NNVC. I had really good entry, really good size from here, and just adding, probably not a good add here, but I was covering here and reshorted here and covering into the dips here, and of course never catch the bottom. But this was another one that I did pretty well on the day, but none of these wins are recoverable compared to the huge loss on CODX. So yeah, it sucks, and it's hard giving back the whole week's profit just from one trade like that. But at the end, I have to stick to my discipline. So I'm probably not gonna trade tomorrow, just to so mentally I can recover. I saw a lot of people blow up on social media, and that's extremely unfortunate. So there were traders down 5 figures, 6 figures. For me, I blew the entire week's gains on this, but I'll be fine. You know what? This is how much I went down on the day. Not a pretty picture, but I'll be fine. Hope this helps you guys. Everyone loses in trading. Whether people want to admit it or not, we all have our losses. We all have bad days like this. The key is to keep your losses manageable. Even if I blow up the entire week's profit just like this in one trade, I'll be fine. But I don't want to go back and revenge trade and throw my entire account in and just, adding size and slamming the bid and adding huge size emotionally. I don't want an emotional trade. So I think that's the one silver lining from today's loss that I'm really happy about, to be honest. Even though, I took a huge loss on CODX, I didn't revenge trade. All my sizing after this loss was on this same ticker, by the way, was actually, I cut my size on this ticker because I know that I don't want to, be emotional about this. I want to trade well. And for me to trade well on a stock that I just lost a lot of money on was to size down. So I'm happy about the way I stayed disciplined and stayed emotionally sane after this. And that's why I avoided everything after this. After this, I just took a break. And the other stocks that I'm really happy about, still, even though the gains doesn't compare to the loss on CODX, I'm still happy about the way I executed these two tickers. So hope you guys get something something from this. Hope you can learn from my mistake. But the key is discipline, and keep your emotions in check. So with that, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'm probably not going to trade tomorrow. Gonna kind of reflect this whole week and, just to recover from this mentally. That said, hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.